The motor for Whiplash Gas is a little different than has been used on the Spectra and many traditional helicopters. This is the Zenoa RC format motor, commonly used in gas-powered cars. There's at least one other helicopter on the market that also uses it, but it's got some interesting features. It's got a built-in cooling system that's very effective, and it comes with a pretty effective clutch. Depending on where you buy this and how it's configured, it's going to come exactly like this. It comes with a spark plug, a muffler, and a housing around the clutch. So what we're going to need to do is make some changes to this to get it ready to install. Parts you'll need, or tools you'll need, is a 14mm socket, a piston stop, an opened end wrench, the spark plug wrench that comes with the motor, a 14mm open end, a 10mm wrench, and a 5mm hex driver. You'll also need a clutch puller. This is the Zenoa clutch puller. I believe the kit is going to come with a clutch puller, so that won't be an issue. This motor comes with a self-contained pull starter. I'm going to assume that you're going to use the pull starter in the model. You don't have to. This model has a top start capability. You can start it with a standard spin starter that you use to start a 90 size model with. But the pull start comes configured with a stock motor this way, and it would require that you pull the rope basically through the skids. It's not practical. So this needs to be reoriented. You remove the 4 Phillips head screws. This just lifts off. You drop it back on. Tighten these 4 screws up. You're going to pull start it towards the carburetor side of the model. That way you have access to the fuel and choke in case you need to address those. For the rest of the work, we're going to need to lock the motor. We're going to use a piston stop for that, which goes in place with a spark plug. This is a commercial piston stop. It's got a nice round end on it, and it replaces a spark plug. You pull the cap off, use the plug wrench that came with it to loosen the plug. Simply take it out, set it aside because you're going to need it again. Piston stop threads right in. You want to thread it all the way down. And the motor will still turn, but it eventually hits the stop. And that's the position we're going to want it in to do the next step. Again, what we're trying to do is, if your motor came with this clutch housing, it needs to be removed. We just need the bare clutch out. To get this housing off, you've got to remove the clutch. There's 2 bolts. They're 14mm. I'm using a socket to get them off. They're actually going to be a lot tighter than I just showed you. But go ahead and completely remove these and remove the clutch. Once you remove the clutch, there's a couple of bolts and some washers. Hang on to these because you're going to need them to put it back on. Again, to get this housing off, the clutch plate has to be removed. This is a 10mm bolt. Piston stop in, 10mm bolt. This can simply be loosened. Take this out, and we're going to need to remove this plate next. To get this plate off, you use the threads in these 2 posts and a puller. Again, I think the kit's going to come with a puller. This is a Zenoa puller. As you can see, it's got 2 threaded bolts that thread into these posts and a center bolt that you tighten down. You don't want to totally remove this bolt in the center. You want to loosen it so that there's a gap. That's really what the center of this puller is going to push on, and it'll just pop this off. I use the term pop literally because once you tighten this down, you'll hear a pop and it'll come loose. Remember, you can't get this off because you still got the bolt threaded in there. So you need to take the puller back off, thread the bolt out, and then take the plate off. Once this bolt is out, this plate, having been loosened, will just come right off. Set that aside, you're going to need it. Then we need to take out these 4 bolts to take the housing off. You'll need an M5 hex driver for that. Once these bolts are loosened, you can lift the housing off, You don't need this housing anymore. You can set that aside, put it in a box, do whatever. You don't need the bolts either. Here's what the motor will look like. Once you've got the clutch plate off the motor, last piece of prep we need to do before moving to the next step is to remove the bell crank off the carburetor butterfly. This has a Phillips head screw in it. You can use the wrench that comes with the motor to get it off. When you're twisting on this, you'll basically be twisting the rod against the stop, which is on the other side of the carburetor. Technically you can do that. I don't recommend it. You're putting extra stress on the butterfly. I take an open end wrench, slip over the end of this, and then use that to loosen the screw. Once it's loose, it doesn't matter. You can spin that out. You want to set that aside because we're going to use that in a later step. At this point, the motor's ready to be to have the rest of the parts put on it. Depending on where you bought your motor, if you bought it from one of the modifiers like TRM Power or BH Hansen, it's probably going to come just like this. So a lot of the steps we just did, you won't have to do. If you bought the motor from someone like Dave's Motors, it's going to come with a housing and a clutch on it if you order it that way. Then you would need to go through these steps. Alright, we're ready to go to the next step, which is to put the clutch back on it, get the engine mount on, and get it ready to put in the model.